Welcome to Everyday Nonviolence. This podcast is produced by Friends for a Nonviolent World, or FNVW. FNVW champions nonviolence as the foundation for effective programs and actions to promote the dignity of every human being. The Everyday Nonviolence podcast highlights people in our community who are using the principles and practices of nonviolence to transform themselves and the world around us. Their stories deepen our understanding of the impact of violence and the many ways nonviolence can be used for healing and social change.
Hi, my name is Naomi Gedey. I'm a student at the University of Minnesota. I am currently in a capstone for my senior graduate class. I became a part of FNVW to help with my project for that class. I'll be your host for this episode of the Everyday Nonviolent podcast. Today, I am here interviewing Roshandra Brown, who works for ConnextMSP. The network offers a variety of resources to help students of color and graduates find employment in any sector. They're kind of like a mentor for students of color. They provide networking events, one-on-ones, job opportunities, interviewing preps, career guidance, and so on. They are a valuable resource for students of color looking to start their careers or need some guidance on what they're looking for outside of college. This network's resources and connections has helped and benefited many students find employment and advance their careers in Minneapolis-Saint Paul region. So I'm going to go ahead and have Roshandra Brown introduce herself before we get into today's podcast.
Excellent. Thank you. So, like Naomi said, Roshandra Brown, ConnextMSP Network Manager. ConnextMSP is an initiative through an organization called Greater MSP Partnership. And so ConnextMSP, as a network manager, I do a lot of work within our online database and portal, making sure that thousands of young professionals create profiles and are able to interact with talent recruiters. I've been in this role since May of 2020, and actually just very recently we'll be transitioning from this role, but still very supportive of ConnextMSP and have a wealth of knowledge of kind of what we've built in the last 3 years with ConnextMSP.
Great to hear. Thank you so much. She's been a great mentor for me as well. She's helped me a lot with finding a job right after college. FNVW was created by a group of Quakers and other concerned individuals who wanted to promote nonviolent solutions to social issues. So one question I do have for you is, how does ConnextMSP's mission overlap FNVW's mission?
Yes, really great question. So there's a few things that I think of when you think of ConnextMSP mission. Our main goal is to be kind of this mentor support for young professionals of color here in the Twin Cities region as they are attending college and working to launch careers after college. And we focus on 3 areas. We focus on providing internships so that they can build resume skills, creating new pathways so students can have options of how to land that career track job, and then also broadening their networks and exposing them to opportunities through networking events so that they can continue to grow. But the mission of ConnextMSP came about because we wanted to address the challenges here in the region. And so we knew that there were a couple of things with students of color when they were graduating from colleges with 4-year degrees. We knew, one, they're making 33% less wages than their white counterparts. So even with a bachelor's degree, they're still making less. And they're also more likely to be in seasonal or part-time roles even with a bachelor's degree. So there's an issue there that we're trying to address with our partners. And so we've built this coalition of partners. They include partners from higher education institutions. They include partners from our business community and corporate environment. They include partners for our career and college readiness programs that really work with these students in high school, pushing them into college. And then last but certainly not least, it includes our community partners and young professionals, of course, to be at the table to start addressing and discussing these issues and really talking about barriers for young professionals of color that as they're trying to launch a career here in the region, they're struggling with. So we spent 2021, the beginning of that year, we held 3 different focus groups. We held a focus group for young professionals who are kind of in that freshman and sophomore year, so just starting college. We held a focus group for those who were kind of in between sophomore, junior, looking for internship opportunities. And then we held a focus group for seniors and those who have graduated, who are kind of like looking for those job opportunities and have graduated and still trying to find work. Maybe they found their first entry-level role. And we really wanted to understand what challenges they face while trying to find opportunities. We know internships are really important as you're in college, especially if you want to land a really good job. And we know that these networks and having people who you can turn to can lead to career opportunities. And so we were trying to figure out, where's the gap? Why is there a gap between students of color and their white counterparts? And so when we talk about like how it relates to the other mission, I think we too are trying to address some of these systemic barriers and challenges that the MSP region face. And we're really trying to close the gap through the work that we're doing within ConnextMSP.
What are some specific partners that you are like partnered with? I know there may be a lot, but if you can name some of them, that'd be great.
Absolutely. I can give you some examples. So as far as career and college readiness programs, when I talk about those programs, some people may be familiar with programs like Genesis Works, College Possible, Step Up, Right Track. These are programs that work with students while they're in high school, mostly students of color and students from underrepresented communities. And they're really helping them by first providing some of those early internship opportunities with companies, as well as like helping them get to college. From our corporate partners and business communities, we really focus on career track roles. And so when I say that, we're really focused on corporate organizations like top Fortune 500 companies here in Minnesota. We have a really nice advantage here in the region because we have 15 Fortune 500 companies here. So we're talking about Cargill. We're talking about Target. We're talking about Ecolab. Some of these big corporations that we know have lots of opportunities that young professionals of color who are talented can get into these roles, whether through internships or entry-level roles. And to these companies, as far as our higher ed partners, we partner with, of course, the University of Minnesota and various different departments within that system. St. Thomas, Augsburg. It's really important for us to also partner with our 2-year colleges, so North Hennepin, Metro State, St. Paul College, Minneapolis College. And then finally, some of our community partners are the City of Minneapolis, Hennepin County, things like that. And so we're really trying to have this holistic approach to all of our partners so that we can look at this massive ecosystem of what it's like for a student to go through college and try to find a job and make sure we're closing any of those gaps. So ConnextMSP really serves as this platform where we can try to create this opportunity to work together and close some of these silos where people are working separately with the same students of color. We realize like students of color are participating in these programs and attending these universities and maybe doing internships at some of these companies, but everybody's working in silos, and we're really trying to better support students of color by working together and figuring out how do we make sure that that student gets from that internship to a lifelong career that is only going to help them in the future and kind of close this wealth gap that we have here in Minnesota by making sure that young professionals of color get started in really great careers as they launch.
Thank you again. I love how you're very passionate with how you're talking. This is going to be a question that's kind of a little bit personal. What brought you to this type of work?
So I am a lifelong Minnesota resident. I went to high school here as well as college. So I went to the University of Minnesota, and it was hard for me to not only get through that higher education system at a PWI, being an African-American woman student and trying to navigate that system. But when it was time for me to graduate, I was completely lost. I had not networked while I was in college. I did one internship that was a required piece of the work, and I was trying to figure out what it is that I wanted to do and trying to find a job. I ended up doing an internship with a hunger relief organization. I did AmeriCorps for a year with that same organization, and then kind of got lucky, but kind of worked really hard and stayed there and got promoted in different areas. I always knew that I wanted to support students on their journey as they were going through college and trying to launch careers as well. but also found something that worked well and fit with me. I was really passionate about hunger relief at the time, but decided in 2020 that I wanted to circle back, because we all are allowed to do that no matter what age we are, and try to go on a different path in career and do what I was really passionate about, which was try to find an opportunity where I was really able to support young professionals of color while they were in college and then graduating to launch careers. So I found ConnextMSP. It was a great opportunity as I was reading over the job description. It was something that I was really wanted to do and really passionate about. And then I became even more passionate about it as I started talking to students who were currently in school at the U of M or other schools and trying to launch careers as well. And they were going through some of the same things that I faced when I was in school. And it was really eye-opening for me, because I was like, wow, it's been so many years since I was at the University of Minnesota. I would have thought that things have changed by now and students aren't facing the same things that I went through years ago. So clearly there's still things to work through. There's still barriers that need to be addressed. And it becomes a real passion for me when I see so many different people who have joined ConnextMSP, whether they're corporate, whether they're higher ed institution or career and college readiness, who say we all want to come together. We want to work together because we want our young professionals of color to succeed, because they're talented. They deserve it. And, they deserve to be in these corporate type roles. So I think the passion really comes from my personal experiences and what I experienced, and my need and want to help others have an easier journey than I had. And then also the passion comes from working with so many different people in different industries and areas who say, like, we want to figure this out. We want to make it better.
I agree with you on your point, how difficult it can be to find jobs after graduation. There's a lot of college readiness programs. I was in Upward Bound in high school, and they've helped me prepare for ACTs and also applying for college and so on. And it was easy to get into college. I mean, I had that support, but now that I'm graduating, I don't know what to do. Like, I know what I wanted to do, which is eventually one day become a lawyer. I didn't want to go to law school right away. And also I didn't prep for the LSAT either. So I was just trying to find a job that could benefit me for law school later on. It's hard to find jobs right away because students, especially my year, had to go through COVID. So we didn't have a chance to have any internship. Well, LinkedIn is a very broad site. So it's kind of hard to have someone to help you. In a sense, you have to do everything on your own, rather than ConnextMSP is very supportive. Hey, how can we help?
We really wanted to make sure that we found something that had the features and support for young professionals of color. We know in this world, there's LinkedIn that, you're being told to create a profile on there. There's Handshake that you're being told to create a profile on there. And for those of you who don't know, the ConnextMSP Talent Network is what it's called, connextmsp.peoplegrow.com. And so students can create a profile. They can connect it to their LinkedIn if they want to, or they can create using their email address. But it's really more intuitive than the LinkedIn. So we have over 1,000 members and users who have now joined the site, and about 200 plus of those users are strictly talent recruiters from different companies here in the Twin Cities region. And the nice thing about it is that you can click on a talent recruiter and you can message them. You don't have to pay for a premium account like LinkedIn makes you pay for to contact talent recruiters, but you can send a message. It has templates. So whether you want to ask about career advice, whether you want to ask about for information about interview, it's nice because you can click on one of those templates, or you can create your own message, and then you can suggest meeting days and times for the person. And then when they reply back, they can pick one, and you can either do a virtual meeting, which is directly on the site. You can do a phone call, or you can meet them in person. But we really wanted this opportunity where we work with our corporate partners to say, we have this community of really talented young professionals of color that you need to know because you need to hire them. And so we work really closely with the companies who post opportunities. So it's also a job board on there. We ask questions it's different from other sites that post jobs. We are asking these companies, what are your DEI goals? Do you have inclusive environments? We don't want you to just come on here and say, oh, we need to diversify our workforce at our company, so we want to hire from your site. We want to make sure that we are sending young professionals of colors into spaces and places where they can thrive and and grow. And we know that they can't do that if the company doesn't have an inclusive environment and doesn't have any strong DEI goals. So before we post jobs and opportunities, we vet them for that. And then we also vet the type of roles that are being posted to make sure that they are for internship and entry-level roles. So do not post an entry-level role and say you want 5 years experience. We make sure we talk with companies and say, like, if you're posting an entry-level role for a college student who has just graduated, it needs to be 1 to 2 years, right? An entry-level role is not 5 years. And we know that that deters young professionals of color, especially when they're looking at the qualifications and they feel like they don't meet all of the qualifications. That deters them for even applying for certain types of roles. So we're really specific with companies we work with about how you post roles, how you look at your job descriptions. We want to make sure that talent is getting through your doors and there are no barriers there. So it's a really good site. Amongst other things, we host events and post those to the site. So it's really a way for young professionals of color here in the region who are ready to launch careers to really engage with the business community.
Thank you. Thank you. I encourage everyone out there to actually take a moment and just try to look over ConnextMSP, and if it's something that you're interested in. I know it's benefited me, and I know a lot of people I know benefited them as well. Try that. If you are going to be graduating and don't have a job, don't know what you want to do, it's a great way to start off and find something that you're interested in. So you've talked about how ConnextMSP has been successful. I do want to ask, what are some challenging experiences that you had to face, or what ConnextMSP had to face?
I think it continues to be a challenge to create change within the business community, to get the business community to commit to big, bold changes and goals about hiring young professionals of color and really understand their system. And so we host a lot of networking events. You've been to a couple where we place young professionals of color who are extremely talented. We're like, we will bring the talent to you. Like, tell us when and where, and we will bring the talent to you to apply for roles. I want every student who shows up to every event to get the job that they want and that they apply for. But we know there's so many other factors that we're like, we're getting you in front of the face. I can't guarantee that you'll get the job, but we at least try to work with companies to say, like, we're going to host an event. We want you to commit to interviewing these students and kind of pushing them through the interview process, and then keep in touch with us through the whole process for these students so we can make sure we support them with landing the job. And that doesn't always happen. And that can be frustrating at times when you're like, we hosted this really great event. We had this really talented student, you interviewed them, but they didn't get the job. And so we try to figure out what happened, what type of feedback was given to that student. Did you give that student feedback? What can we work on with that student to make sure the next time they get the job? So that continues to be challenging, continuing to understand different corporations. They all have different, just like application and interview processes. So trying to make sure that we, as much as possible, prepare students of color as they go in to apply for roles to be prepared for the application and interview process. Talent Network has something on there called Pathways as well, and it'll walk you through steps on how to be successful in an interview process. So we're really trying to grow that Pathways program and create opportunities for you to prep before that interview and application process to make sure you land the role. But it doesn't always, end with the person getting the job. And we go back to the drawing board. We say, that's okay. What's some other opportunities? If we can get feedback from that company or that person who interviewed, that is always extremely helpful, because then we can go back to that young professional and say, like, here's some of the feedback we got. Let's talk through this. Let's figure out how we can make it better next time on the next role you apply for. And we've had situations where students have, not landed the first or second opportunity, but they found a third opportunity and landed that perfectly. So that's kind of like a challenge where it's like, personally, I want everybody to get the first job that they apply for. But we know that doesn't always happen. So we just continue to work on and how to improve it. And I think for a lot of companies, asking for that feedback after the interview process. So busy. They go through so many applications and they do so many interviews, which is totally understandable. That feedback is so important for young professionals of color, though. So really just trying to get them to make sure that we talk through students who applied and didn't get the role. Can you remember any specifics on that? So we can go back to that student and kind of help them for next time.
There's been a time where I didn't get a job that I really, really wanted. But then you had told me to connect with them to see what I did wrong or what was wrong with the interview. I did get in touch with two of them, and then they gave me feedback. So I have actually been using the pathways. That's kind of helped me with the interview process for other interview processes that I've had. I just wanted to ask you some additional info that you may have that you want to give to the listeners.
So the number one important thing is for young professionals of color to really get involved in the ConnextMSP Talent Network. You can Google ConnextMSP Talent Network and find it there. The more students of color who are part of this network, the better off it's going to be, the more events we can do. And there's a lot of talent recruiters, like I said, and companies on there who really want to hire diverse talent. And who are looking for interns and people to fill entry-level roles. So that is key. Also, if the business community is listening, we want ConnextMSP Talent Network to be the premier space here in the MSP region where you can find that diverse early career talent. And, these students have been doing internships since high school and working with different career and college readiness programs. They're ready for the challenge. They're ready for the roles. And this is a talented group of individuals, including Naomi, who are on the ConnextMSP Talent Network. So that's a big thing. And then also, if you want to get involved with the other side of the work that we do, so not only are we working with students, helping them get jobs, but we're also having bi-monthly meetings where we're figuring out these challenges and we're figuring out these barriers and we're trying to solve these issues where you really want to get involved in the work that the ConnextMSP team is doing. There's opportunities there too. ConnextMSP.org is where you can find more information.
Great. Thank you so much for meeting with me today.
Yeah, thank you so much. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to Everyday Nonviolence. To learn more about Friends for a Nonviolent World, visit our website at fnvw.org or call 651-917-0383. We hope you will subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes and insightful conversations. Please note that the views expressed in this podcast are those of the host and guest and are not intended to reflect the official positions of FNVW, its staff, or board of directors.